Superman review, so that means I had to pop out the Superman cape. Actually, you know what, I just felt like wearing the Superman cape. Like, it doesn't really matter what kind of video this would have been, I just felt like wearing it. I know that a lot of you people out there, after a few years on YouTube, are still asking, why would there be a grown man in his mid to late 20s that still has a Superman cape? My question to you is, why don't you have a Superman cape? Huh? I mean, it just feels like something that everybody should have. The natural badass thing that any grown person should have. I feel like you should have a Superman cape or a Wonder Woman shield or something that just exemplifies awesome DC shit. If you're not a DC fan, you know, you should have a Spider-Man mask somewhere in your closet, or maybe you should have, I don't know, Invisible Woman's underwear. I don't know. I'm just saying that you could make an argument that grown people should have shit like this because it makes you feel more alive. Point is, I'm wearing the Superman cape because today I'm going to be reviewing The Reign of the Supermen. Reign of the Supermen is directed by Sam Liu. It is the 12th, 13th film in the DC animated universe, the follow-up to last year's Death of Superman storyline, and it is the second part of a two-part storyline. Obviously, if you've read the comics, then you already know there was Death of Superman, and then there was The Reign of the Supermen, and this is that second part of that storyline. Basics are pretty obvious in this one. It's been 6 months since Superman died defending the world from Doomsday, and a lot of the world is still struggling with it, and they're all dealing with it in their own different ways. Then you've got a bunch of different Supermen that pop up in the wake of Superman's death. You've got Eradicator, you've got Superboy, you've got Steel, all start doing their own Superman thing, but obviously not everything is as it seems, and the public is kind of confused, and they don't really know, are these Supermen? Is this Superman? Is this Superman just reincarnated in different bodies? Lois Lane starts investigating, and her investigation leads her to Lex Luthor, and her investigation into Lex Luthor leads to some other things, and then there's a big plot, and then, you know, that's all I really want to say in case you haven't seen the movie. Obviously, I'm a diehard Superman fan, and this is one of my favorite comic book storylines of all time, so I was very interested to see how DC was going to adapt this into a two-part thing. Loved the Death of Superman. That was one of my favorite films, animated films at least, of last year, and I wanted to see how part 2 was going to hold up, because there's a lot of things that were set up in part 1 that needed to be delivered on in part 2. For the most part, part 2 absolutely delivers what I expected and what I wanted from it. Now, I have to look at this kind of with two different prisms. I have to look at it as a movie, and I also have to look at it as a fan of the comic book storyline. In general, when you're adapting something from the comics, there's going to be things that are going to be left out, there's going to be things that are going to be cut, or things that are going to be changed just to fit the story that they're trying to tell in the movie more. Definitely could get hung up on some of the nitpicks and some of the changes that they make to that storyline, some of the things they leave out. You also have to understand that this is art, and you have to give the artist creative freedom, and you have to let them make the kind of movie that they want to make. If you wanted a panel by panel exact replication of the comic book storyline, I feel like you could just, you know, read the comics and you'd be alright. I think they nailed the spirit and the essence of that storyline, and that's really what I wanted to see out of this movie, and that's what I got out of this movie. Animation for this film is just as beautiful, just as fluid, just as well drawn as it is for the other DC animated universe movies. However, if you're not a fan of that animated style, if you're not a fan of some of the fashion and the costumes and the aesthetic look of some of those films, well then maybe you won't like this one. I also got to single out the voice talent. I think we take for granted how great these voice actors are at bringing these characters to life, and it's no different in this movie. Jason O'Mara has been Batman for like forever now. Rosario Dawson once again is back and does great as Wonder Woman. You've got Shamar Moore as Cyborg, Nathan Fillion as Green Lantern. I'd probably say among the newcomers, my favorite voice actor of the bunch is Cress Williams, who plays Steel in this movie. For those of you that don't know, Cress Williams apparently is also the live action version of Black Lightning on the CW. So, you know, I feel like I should throw that fun fact in here just in case you cared about it. I would also say that this movie feels a little bit more balanced compared to Death of Superman in terms of action sequences. Like, if you were disappointed with the Death of Superman, because really that movie is like half build up, and then the second half of the movie is pretty much non-stop action with Doomsday. It definitely has more than a few action sequences that are spread out throughout it. I mean, yeah, there still is a really big finale and a lot of really awesome action stuff going on, but they spread the action out, and the action sequences are just like the animation, among the best that the DC animated universe has to offer. I would say that this movie definitely nailed the spirit and the ideal of what that comic, at least to me, represented, which is that Superman is a symbol, Superman is a hope, and hope always endures, no matter if Superman is actually here to carry the mantle or not. The point is that anybody can be Superman, anybody can carry that mantle, anybody can deliver hope to the people, and I feel like this movie definitely carried that message across. I think Sam Liu did a really fine job with the direction, he did a great job with the pacing, he did a great job at structuring the scenes and making everything flow. which is what you want in an animated movie, especially a second parter like this. You don't want it to be jumping all over the place. Man, 2 movies in, and I'm still not the biggest fan of Lex Luthor's voice. Rainn Wilson from The Office plays Lex Luthor. He played him in The Death of Superman, and I'll be honest, I just don't like his voice. I don't like it. It's irritating to me. It's annoying to me whenever I hear him speaking as Lex Luthor. One of those unexplainable critiques, like I really don't have an ironclad valid reason for why I don't like his voice. I just feel like it doesn't fit the Lex Luthor that they've tried to set up in this DC animated universe. You are more than welcome to shame me for that opinion, or, you know, to criticize that opinion, because it's an opinion without anything really backing it up beyond my own personal feeling. But since this is a subjective review and all I have is my personal feeling, well, I feel like you should just take that for what it is. So when it comes to wrapping up the second part of a 2-part storyline, I feel like this film didn't wrap things up or finish it up the way that it should have. Definitely there's a lack of closure with this movie. I feel like certain things in the third act, certain things that the first movie set up, I feel like there wasn't enough delivery, enough payoff on that. Certain things could have been fleshed out more. I feel like it could have been a more emotionally satisfying return for Superman. Like the ending definitely left a lot to be desired in regards to that. Overall, Reign of the Supermen is definitely a worthy follow-up to The Death of Superman from last year, as a great overarching narrative about Superman and how he always endures as a symbol of hope. First impression, I would say that I don't actually like it as much as The Death of Superman. Maybe that makes me a weirdo. Death of Superman, I feel like, was just a little bit more emotionally impactful on me as a viewer. Reign of the Supermen was a pretty damn good Superman movie, and I'm going to leave it in the Silver Age for Man of Steel. Stay tuned for more videos. Please like and subscribe to the Superfan Show, and as always, if you like what you see, tell me how you feel, and stay tuned to hear more from the Man of Steel. Peace!